Database attacks can be devastating because hackers can steal sensitive data, passwords, create admin accounts for themselves, and take whole systems under their control. Hey, and welcome to Security Bytes, a series of short videos from the GitHub Security Lab aiming towards educating developers on common software bugs. Today we'll look at a common but critical bug called SQL injection. We have an SQL injection, also known as SQL injection, when an attacker is able to send a malicious SQL query to a website's database. The root cause of this bug is incorrect user input sanitization or no sanitization at all. Let's take a step back and understand this vulnerability step by step. Databases are everywhere and they are used to store information. Web developers rely on SQL commands and queries to create, read, update, and delete database records. In this video, we will use some simple PHP and MySQL notation to understand how the vulnerability occurs and how to avoid it in future. Take the simplified example of a website that relies on a database to dynamically generate content. This URL will query the site's database and dynamically create a response based on the information returned. For this to happen, the following code could exist behind the scenes. The first line accesses the name value from the URL, which is then passed to the query that executes on the final line. Someone could notice that the name parameter from the first line is passed unsanitized to the second line. The software developers of the website are expecting and trusting users to pass names that consist only of regular text. What if an attacker is able to pass a string that will return every user of the database instead? Consider this URL parameter that will result in the following SQL statement. The conditional operator OR will make the whole where statement to be equal to true. As a result, SQL will now return all the users of the database, not just those named Cleo. Let's now see a funny example from the famous Little Bobby tables, where student name resulted in the whole student's database to be deleted. Behind the scenes, in the software that the meme refers to, we have something similar to the following query, where the name variable is inserted unsanitized to the query. Like for example, if we take this one step further, consider the following query, where the malicious command is intended to delete the table students completely. The remainder is a comment to prevent syntax errors with the apostrophe and the closing parenthesis. Let's now see a real-world example of an SQL injection being uncovered from the GitHub Security Lab. Our researcher Antonio Morales observed that this function in QRFTPD did not properly sanitize SQL queries in the Postgres config file, which could lead to an SQL injection vulnerability in the FTP server. Specifically, a function was reintroducing the single quote, which effectively makes the sanitization process to cross itself out. In addition, another function, namely snprintf, was called on non-escaped strings and made it possible to tamper with the query logic by inserting SQL code. One protection available to prevent SQL injection is the use of prepared statements, which is a database feature executing repeated queries. The protection stems from the fact that queries are no longer executed dynamically. This is because the user input will be passed a template placeholder, which means that even if someone manages to pass unsanitized data to a query, the injection will not be in position to modify the database's query template. Therefore, no SQL injection will occur. Widely used web frameworks such as Ruby on Rails and Django offer built-in protection to help prevent SQL injection. But as technology will always grow and be imperfect, software developers should always follow best practices. Contextually, to be careful when handling user input by planning for the worst and to stop trusting the user. Make sure to leave a comment below to let us know which vulnerabilities to cover next. In the meantime, stay in the loop by following us on Twitter. Remember, quality code is a QR code.